You're welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis platform. And here on Newsfile, as always, we put Ghana first. My guest, Bright Simmons, Honorary Vice President Imani Africa, joining us by Zoom. And we had also Dr. Abdul Tia Kabiru Mahama, who also joins us via Zoom. He's member, New Patriotic Party Communications Team, Economist and Technical Advisor at the Office of the Vice President. In the studio, John Abdullahi Jinapo, MP Yape Kusogu, and former Deputy Power Minister Martin Kpebu is lawyer and rights activist. We'll share a few of your messages with you, and then we go to the matter of the Gensa. A Newsfile is brought to you by the candid sponsorship of Bank of Africa, as strong as a group and close as a partner. MTN, everywhere you go. Ashesi University, educating ethical and entrepreneurial leaders for Africa. Robert & Sons Optical Services, your comprehensive eye care service provider for 31 years. Duraplus, where Duraplus goes, water flows. DBS Industries, roofing, Papa Fie. My Way, dial star 165 hash on MTN to join My Way today. And Syntex Tanks, it's strong, it's tough. Flamingo Paints, simply superior. And don't forget that we are giving you also a comprehensive coverage all day. Actually started last night with the superior analysis by the great political team, Evans Mensah and Winston Amwa on Joy News. And that analysis will continue as the voting for who will qualify as the five, for the November delegates conference of the NPP. That will also continue. And as you watch from time to time, when some significant persons have been to cast their ballots, we share with you. Not too long ago, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, the Vice President, had also been to the voting venue to vote. Some minutes before him was the President himself also casting his ballot. It's a very busy day for the NPP today, determining out of the 10 hopefuls or candidates who will qualify to be voted on for the flag bearership eventually to contest the 2024 elections. K. Amwa says BOG managing reserves is making losses. Cocoa Board buying and selling cocoa is making losses. The ECG buying and selling power is making losses. All these point to the fact that our current trajectory needs a change. Sometimes it's Mr. Rhetorician. Is that your name? Okay, he says the governor's dismissal of the bank's recent losses as a mere technicality insults our intelligence, and choosing luxury over the well-being of citizens during this time of unprecedented economic crisis is never a reasonable decision. Atofosu J, a question the governor of the central bank should be asked is, quote, if a bank declares such loss, would the bank be allowed to operate, end quote, considering what happened during the banking sector cleanup 5 years ago? M.A. Seydu Jr., the governor's explanation is unacceptable. All Ghanaians need from him is to resign. He took over banks for far lesser issues. He is not special. Mektashi, for me, I see this whole Bank of Ghana and its governor issue as a broader scheme of things. The man has no moral right to still be at post, even if we take away the now headquarters building case. How he manages both the fiscal and monetary policy has given him away long time ago. This one from Alhaji Suleiman. He says, it's sad when managers of state institutions explain everything away, blame everything but themselves. When that happens, our institutions will not grow since the managers see no fault on their part. Is the BOG saying they have absolutely no blame whatsoever as far as this cliff fall in Ghana is concerned? If the banking sector was strengthened by the clean-up exercise, then we shouldn't have fallen the way we have. Our cliff fall is a clear evidence of policy failure, and the BOG must take responsibility. Let's get serious. Okay. Thank you for your messages. Keep sending them. So the simple question we are asking you is, are you satisfied with the justifications, defenses that the Bank of Ghana and its governor have given the country over the 60.8 billion loss, historic, catastrophic, that they have made, and the 250 million US dollars headquarters building that they are putting up? Are you satisfied with those explanations? And also, we are going to the next issue of the Gensa matter. Tell us where you stand. Do you believe in the report of the CSOs or the parliamentary group that says it was a savings rather than a loss? Once again, let's go and begin with Bright Simmons. And as I mentioned to you earlier, the Parliamentary Select Committee on Mines and Energy has stated that the country saved 1.5 billion from the gas sales agreement between the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation, GNPC, and the Gensa Energy Ghana Limited. The contract is to deliver 329 million metric British thermal units of gas to the GNPC for 16 years. The committee says the sales agreement would also reduce the transmission losses by 480 million US dollars when the Ameri plant is relocated to Kumasi and made operational. The parliamentary probe follows criticisms by some civil society organizations last year that the arrangement or the agreement would cause financial loss to the state. The committee said in its report that after a careful evaluation of testimonies from stakeholders, including Imani and ACEP, the country would derive some benefit from the sales agreement. But Imani and ACEP, that have paid attention and assessed the agreement, say that Ghana bought gas for 95.8 million US dollars and sold same to the Gensa Ghana Limited for 43.5 million US dollars, accounting for the 1.5 billion financial loss to the state. Bright, how did you guys arrive at this?
Thank you very much. And I think it's important that we also emphasize from the outset that this is the chairperson's report. And as I'm sure it will become evident, this is not really the committee's report. So to start off, we are talking about gas. And it's important that we understand the connection between gas and the ordinary person. Gas is really in Ghana electricity. We used to have a huge amount of power that was produced by hydro, so essentially water in Akusombo Dam and Pond Dam, etc. And then over the years, we've shifted more and more to thermal, which is essentially fossil fuels. And in that category of fossil fuels, gas today is almost 99% or something like that of all the fuel we need. In fact, as a country, we plan to move hydro to strategic industries like Valco and things like that, and to move almost exclusively to gas until 2050, where we expect nuclear power to become the dominant form of power here. So in simple terms, gas is so important to electricity production. So when you think gas, you think electricity. The other point that is important is the prices are important because the price of the fuel feeds directly into the price of the electricity. For some of the entities in the value chain, some of the big ones like VRA, fuel can be the biggest cost because they get a good chunk of their generation from hydro as well. When you take the gas cost component, it becomes extremely critical. Maybe 70% of all their costs sometimes can be fuel driven. So in short, there is a huge issue about how much we sell the gas for, how much gas costs the sector, and the price of the power that we get. In 2021, from 2019 onwards, a series of contracts have been signed in Ghana that has allowed a company called Gensa, it's an American company that's a subsidiary in Ghana, and it was founded by Ghanaians, but it's based in the US. And this company has managed to acquire massive discounts on how much it buys the gas for. And here is just basically the pricing of the gas as time has evolved. So he started off paying $2.79 when it signed the first contract with GNPC. GNPC is Ghana's main oil company, petroleum company. And then because of the basis that is building some pipelines, that price was supposed to be dropped further to $1.72. So bear these numbers in mind. They are very important. For every unit of gas, Gensa is now entitled by the contract to pay $1.72 for every unit of gas. What does Gensa do? It takes the gas that is given and it pipes the gas to power plants that is located near 6 major gold mines in the country and produces power and sells to the mines. It also has a power facility, similar thing with Unilever. I'm not sure if that is still up to date, but at some point, it had a power plant in one of the Unilever's factories, or close to one of Unilever's factories, where it sold power to Unilever. And now it also hopes to take some of this gas, convert it into a liquid, and export it out to the country. So it's very important that we get an understanding of how Gensa uses the gas that it gets. It's a commercial company. It takes the gas from state-owned companies like GNPC. It uses it to produce power that it sells to some gold mines, and some power that it expects in the coming year or so to convert into liquids and then export out of the country. According to the committee, there is really no problem. Gas, at the time that this company got its deal, gas was being sold on average at or gas cost on average $6.08 in Ghana. What that means is that all the gas that we produce in 3 main gas fields in Ghana, Sankofa, Jubilee, and 10, the price of the Jubilee and 10 are determined through negotiations with those companies led by Talo. Then we get some gas from Sankofa, Ginyame, and that is led by Eni, it's an Italian company. We have a contract with them that determines the prices, and those prices we kind of strike an average. We also get some gas from Nigeria, and when you take the prices by the volume, based on the volume, and then you strike an average, you get a price of what gas costs Ghana, which is around $6. We sell it to the company at $1.72, it used to be $2.79. And the argument of the committee is that the reason why there's a difference is that the company also provides a service to GNPC, the one selling the gas, the Ghanaian-owned, the state-owned company selling the gas to the company. The company provides some service to them. Now, the services are in twofold, and it's important that we explain it clearly. In one leg, they are saying that the company uses its own pipeline to take the gas from GNPC. And so GNPC does not spend money to build a gas pipeline to the company's facilities. And therefore, the company has expended some costs. Secondly, GNPC has also signed a contract with the company saying that it would like to use some of that pipeline capacity, some of the space in the pipeline, to send gas to some of its customers. So when you strike the balance, the company then gets paid. So you just subtract and you get the price that the company pays. So it's almost like I sell you something, you sell me something, and in order for us to strike out the net price, we get this $2.79 that has now become $1.72 according to the contract. It doesn't make any sense, the argument that the committee is making. It's very good that it's not the committee that is making the argument, it's the chairperson making the argument. Because I will try and explain it further on with this bread analogy. And I will start by saying that think of a bakery, and I'll come back to it later, but think of a bakery. It makes bread. It gets flour from somewhere. Then it makes bread. And then once it gets the bread, it sells it to a restaurant. The restaurant then sells the bread sells it to a supermarket. The supermarket then sells it to a number of restaurants. The argument that the committee is making is that if I sell the bread to the supermarket and you decide that you go and pick it from a depot there, the cost of picking it from the depot there versus me bringing the bread all the way to you, we should strike the difference. Also, the cars that I'm using to bring the bread from that depot to your place, if you reserve space in that car, then that price will somehow net out. That's basically the committee's argument. And we'll come back to this bread analogy again to explain why that makes no sense at all in this arrangement. The other point to note is that gas in Ghana, like I've already explained, is valuable. It's not like we are washing gas, we have surplus gas, we don't know what to do with it. Today, 10, which is one of the 3 oil fields we have in Ghana, it's not been exporting gas in the last couple of months. So most of the gas, we get it from Jubilee, and then Sankofa, and the gas that we get from Nigeria. The fact that we have to bring some gas from Nigeria into the country tells you that we are not self-sufficient in gas. The fact that the gas prices from Nigeria is very high, it's over $8 or whatever, gives you an idea of what you would get if you were doing an arm's length transaction. And the fact that the gas that we also get from Sankofa is typically high, reaching $10 at some point, it tells you that the average price of gas in Ghana can never be less than $7 for a very long time going into the future. So that's also an important point. The cost of gas in Ghana will not drop below $7 for a very long time due to the contracts that we have and due to the nature of the gas industry at present. So today, the average cost of gas has moved from since when the contract was agreed, when it was $6.808. Today, it has moved to $8.122. That's the average cost of gas in Ghana from the ones that we produce, and each of those fields has a contract-based price, and the one that we bring from Nigeria, when you strike the average, is $8.122. So that number is very important because we are selling to Gensa according to the contract based on new pipelines they built and completed. It should now cost Gensa $1.72. And before those pipelines were completed, it cost them $2.79. The committee's argument is based on a certain technical term that they've I think belatedly embraced, called net backing. The IMF itself, this Fiscal Affairs Department, has a model on net backing, which is really useful. And I think that the committee have done this work as it should have. And I'm not saying it hasn't, because like I've explained, this is the chairperson's account of what happened at the committee. You will realize that the argument that they are trying to make is that you need to set the net back all the way to a point where you get a loss at cost recovery point, which makes no sense. Essentially, what they are saying is that if you pick up the bread from the depot, or instead of picking up the bread from the factory, there should be a discount. And we should base that discount on the logic that if we're bringing the bread from our bakery all the way to your location, we'll have paid money for transport, we'll have hired a vehicle. So for that reason, the cost should be discounted. That doesn't make sense. If I sell my bread at 10 cedis, and you ask me to bring it to a certain location, I'll add the price of the transport to that location. If you now say that, oh, actually, I want to send it to my customers who are restaurants, so send it to those restaurants, that added cost should simply be added to the cost of the bread. So in the end, I will charge you 13 cedis. Net backing simply means that when I'm trying to compare how much I actually make on the bread versus another bakery, I will take away those transport costs to get 10 cedis. So that the comparison between me and another bakery who is delivering to maybe less distance and getting 11 cedis is not distorted because I'm getting 13 cedis. So it's a simple way of saying that take away your cost margins. Cost margins doesn't mean go into the actual price of the item and discount that item also further. So instead of selling the bread at 10 cedis, which is what it costs you to produce plus your small margin, reduce the price to 5 cedis because somebody have said that they have a car that will pick up the bread and therefore you don't have to take the bread there. It's as simple as that. And when you look at all the net backing models that the IMF and others use, nobody makes a claim that the commodity itself now has to be discounted. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. We'll go to the issue around whether or not, because GNPC also wants to use the car that carries the bread around, we should apply a cost discount to that car and use that to also discount the price of the bread. We'll come to that in a moment. Here is the bread analogy again. I make bread. The cost that goes to do some flour, some butter, etc. Nobody can change those prices. Whether you have a car or not doesn't come in. It costs me a certain amount to buy the flour, to buy the butter, or the margarine or whatever to make the bread. When I finish doing that cost, I deliver it to a certain depot. In Ghana, the equivalent is that we buy the gas from Nigeria at over $8. We buy from Sankofa at over $8. We buy at Jubilee around $3 or something like that. When you strike the average, you get to something like $8. We then deliver it to Prestia, which is the depot. It costs some money. Once you add all of that money together, that is our cost. We may add some service charge and things like that. That may bring it to something like $9. If you are Gensa and you say you have some customers, this is the restaurants, they are at Damai, they are Takwa, they are elsewhere, you should take the gas there. We will simply charge you extra. If you've decided to build your own pipeline to carry the gas over to those customers, the only thing you can claim is that we cannot charge you for that extra distance because you are now responsible for your own cost and you borrowed money to build your own pipeline, etc., etc. That is the simple issue that the committee has completely misunderstood, according to the chairperson. And when you look at the way we price the gas in Ghana, this is the June tariff, how we price gas in Ghana in June. We've increased the price in August to $8.112. In June, when you use the exchange rate, that makes sense. We're charging about $7-something. If you use another exchange rate, it's about $6.5. You will see that the cost of the commodity is the one top there. The price of the actual gas is over 60-something pesos. You can then look at some of the other costs that delivers the gas to the main depot, the national interconnection transmission system, and people come and pick it from. When you look at those costs, and then you look at the cost that it costs to deliver the gas to the various power plants that buy from Ghana Gas, it gives you a rough idea of what the average transportation cost should be. You can see those numbers in the second schedule in the middle. When you discount, you look at it, there's nothing that says that if all of a sudden those costs in the middle, the ones to do with the transport, were not there, we should go back to the cost of the commodity and take money from that one as well. Nothing like that makes sense. All you can say is that if you are not going to use Ghana Gas infrastructure, then don't add the Ghana gas costs, the ones in the middle, because you're not using their pipelines, and you can take some out. When you do that calculation, rough calculation, you will still see that even in June, your cost for the gas alone would have been around $6 without any of the transportation elements. And today, it will be over $7. The other point is that we have cost for transportation in Ghana. So we can use that to get an idea of what will happen if we were simply saying that we're not charging them any transportation cost at all. But here is the funny thing. Look at the map very carefully. This is the map of how gas gets delivered in Ghana. The top left corner is where the power plants which Gensa owns, and where the gas is being delivered at. When you look at that thing very clearly, something very clear becomes apparent. Is Gensa telling us that if GNPC in an arm's length transaction was building a pipeline all the way to their customers to deliver the gas, GNPC would not have charged them extra? So if they have built pipelines, built power plants in a certain location and gas is being delivered there, why should that become a cost that you pass on to GNPC rather than to your customers? It's your customers that you are delivering the thing to. So essentially, you are saying that rather than you charge the restaurant for delivering the bread from the supermarket depot, you would charge the bakery because you are using your own car to send the bread to your own customers. It makes no sense. And that really is what we are dealing with. This matter will be addressed.
Okay.
The way you can also, two quick points. The other thing is that before Gensa got into this deal, Gensa used to have contracts in Ghana with Ghana Gas and it used its own pipelines and was paying about $7 at one point. It used to have a contract with Vitol, and Vitol was bringing the gas to it at the port and it was carrying the gas to its own power plants. It used to pay Vitol. There was no discount. Gensa does not have a transmission license, so it cannot operate the second leg of the transaction, which is to charge GNPC for reserving capacity. Secondly, the pipeline that it has leads to its customers, not GNPC's customers. So it cannot use that as a basis at GNPC additional money, when in fact it's not already paying Ghana Gas for the cost of delivering the gas to the main depot. It owes Ghana Gas over $50 million, which it has refused to pay as far back as 2019. These are critical issues which we cannot simply gloss over. And the simple fact of the matter is that the cost of the gas must be recovered. If Gensa is not going to pay for it, then the government has to enter a proper discussion with the entire community, including policy analysts, about subsidy arrangements that make sense and it's a fair playing field. What is happening right now is that Gensa is taking customers from the likes of VRG, ECG, and the rest because of this notion that it has cheaper gas and therefore can undercut them. That cannot be allowed to continue. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bright Simmons, with his presentation on this Gensa-GNPC deal, which they show with evidence, which they say they submitted to this parliamentary committee that shows that this is really bad, the manner in which they were approaching and yet the chairman's report, quote unquote, is the one that seems to suggest otherwise. We'll take a quick break. We'll return. John Jinapor is also on this as well, and we'll hear Martin as well. You're welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis platform. And here on Newsfile, we put Ghana first. And you just heard Bright Simmons, Honorary Vice President, Imani Africa, making a presentation on why this deal is bad in the manner in which it has been presented. If it concludes in that way, we will hear from John Abdullah Jinapor now, and then my other guests will also share their views on these matters. So send us your messages on this matter, whether or not you take the views of the civil society or the Parliamentary Select Committee. We are told by the civil society that Ghana bought gas for $95.8 million and is sold to Gensa-Energy Ghana Limited for $43.5 million. And that eventually will account for a loss of $1.5 billion to the state. Yes, John. You are in Parliament. You are in this committee. You are supposed to watch and ensure that we get value for money and the country is not shortchanged. Why are we now in the media complaining about what we should ensure is done at the committee?
Thank you very much, Samson. First of all, I'm the ranking member on the committee. The ranking member is seen as the leader of the minority side in Parliament.
That's right.
You know, Parliament, we have two sides. The chairman normally comes from the majority side. And so in this case, the chairman is Honorable Atta-Akyea. Let me also put on record that Imani and ACEP did not petition Parliament. That is important. That for me is very, very important. It's not as if they petitioned Parliament and said, we've petitioned you, these are our allegations. The committee picked sentiments from across the country and decided that, look, we must go into this matter. And so from day one, I held the view that it's an issue of value for money. For me, that's all. Is there value for money in the contract? And so I kept insisting that don't pigeonhole yourself. So for instance, Imani says the loss is 1.5 billion. I calculated and got about 1.2 billion. But in terms of material substance, there isn't much difference. Is there a loss or not? So if you go and do the computation and your loss is, say, 1.5 or 1.4, then you say, because Imani said it's 1.5, if I got 1.4, they are wrong, that is it. You don't draw that kind of conclusion. That is one. I've just sent you a document. And in this analysis, I want to depend solely on the official document. I don't even want to bring my personal. Look at what the chairman says. Testimony of Ministry of Energy. The ministry did not know the gas price achieved under the GNPC Gensa agreement. This is what the ministry is telling us, that they don't even know that the ministry did not have a copy of the agreement. The ministry cannot authenticate the agreement as it stands. Now, what I sent you is what GNPC sent to us. See, GNPC, this official from GNPC. This is what GNPC says. That on 14 February, the Ministry of Energy communicated an EMT decision. 14 February 2020, the ministry communicated to GNPC that GNPC is now the gas aggregator. Ghana Gas is no more the gas aggregator. And in the energy sector, I don't want to deal with too many technicalities. You have upstream, downstream. GNPC is an upstream company. They are supposed to look for oil, exploration and production. Ghana Gas is supposed to transport the oil. It's at the midstream or downstream. Government decided that Ghana Gas shouldn't do that job again. And the GNPC should now do that job. So that is where the first problem comes. So on 24 February, GNPC then signs this agreement with Ghana Gas. And this is what GNPC tells us at committee. And for me, that is very, very important, that the Ministry of Energy wrote to GNPC. Let me just read that for you. That Ministry of Energy wrote to GNPC to renegotiate the gas agreement. And yet at committee, the ministry says they know nothing about that. That alone should send a signal. But you see, let me just break this down quickly so that we can deal with the gas price according to GNPC itself. It's captured here. Contract price, US dollar per MMBTU, 2.7. That's what they are saying. Now they renegotiate it and say extend the pipeline to Kumasi. And when you extend the pipeline to Kumasi, how much are you going to pay? They are going to pay one Gensa contract price, 1.76.
You said 2.7.
No, I'm talking about what GNPC submitted to us. Contract price, 2.79. Is it?
Okay, 2.79.
2.79.
Yeah.
Without the Kumasi pipeline.
Right.
Now with the Kumasi pipeline, Gensa would now pay 1.7. Is here. Gensa contract price, 1.7. So I told the chairman, our main focus should be that, can we pay for the gas we've procured? Simple. With this price, if you procure the gas from the IOCs, which is the international oil companies, can we pay them? If there's a deficit, how do you deal with that? And if we have done that, our job is finished.
Can you explain again to me briefly why we purchase and sell to a company?
Because you purchase the raw gas. The gas comes in raw form. It comes with certain elements that you need to process at Atuabo. So the IOCs, which is the Jubilee and those things, theirs is that when the gas leaves the flange, they are done. Ghana Gas then takes and process. Ginyami has a processing plant on board. But Ghana needs that gas. So we exercise the first right of refusal or whatever you call it.
Yeah.
That we need the gas to power our plants. The IOC says, okay, then I need a guaranteed price. So we negotiate and we've agreed. So we've agreed with Sankofa, we've agreed with TEN, we've agreed with Jubilee. Then PRC then takes those prices, because the prices are not the same, and apply some weight to them and do a weighted average and say that in order that the value chain is paid, currently PRC says you should sell the gas at $8.1. Anything short of the $8.1, boss, there's a deficit. That is the whole thing. Me, look, I don't even see the controversy here at all. PURC has done the computation and says the raw gas, the processing, the transportation, and everything pay 8.1. This contract says that it's first premised on 4.2. It's here, DDIT. 4.2. So there's a huge differential. And then Gensa will deduct its money and eventually give GNPC 1.7. Meanwhile, the commodity as we speak today is about $5. The raw commodity, or minimum $4. So if you take 1.7, let's even assume it's $2, and you are supposed to pay the gas at $4, how do you pay it? That's what the committee should deal with. And the chairman goes to write this report. We disassociate ourselves from the report. It's baseless.
So this is not the end.
Inaccurate. No, because, and that's where I'm happy. On the last day of Parliament, I moved a motion before the Speaker. And the Speaker said he wants to hear from the chairman before he makes the referral. The chairman said he has no problem, he agrees. So the Speaker then referred this matter to two committees, Finance Committee and then the Mines and Energy Committee. I hold the view that there was no need to even rush with this report. When the Speaker has made that referral.
Hold on, the chairman of the committee, Samuel Atta-Akyea, joins us. Thank you very much. I meant to say he has spoken to us about his position. Let's hear him.
And I keep saying that Rankin is daring me to expose him. If you see, he's becoming duplicitous and it's mendacious posture. If he pushes me, I will expose him. Because at the end of the day, the report was put on a platform in which all the members of the committee had the opportunity to look at and give their input. Thereafter, we converged one-on-one. We all seated together, and he came out with the same errors. He didn't even appreciate that there was an interpretation section to the amended, gas sales agreement. It was an underdog of the committee, somebody who's never been a minister, who showed him that you are totally wrong. And he buckled. Thereafter, he said, okay, he accepted the fact that Imani and ACEP were wrong. And these are matters that we have it on the platform. I'm trying to respect the protocols of Parliament, because if anybody wants to say that Atta-Akyea has a posture of trying to be dictatorial, and then I sat in my bedroom and wrote a report, I'm going to expose this gentleman. And I'm warning him on this platform. For example, he's just told, the whole world that in relation to the referral of these matters to the Joint Committee of Mines and Energy and then Finance, ended his motion. I was not in the chamber to second the motion. Where is it coming from? What motion was it that I was in the chamber? I didn't even know that he's moved the motion. And subsequently, that I came to the chamber and I got to hear that, because he was dissatisfied with the sole position he took and was defeated by his own members. Honorable Bua was there.
All right. So that's his reaction. But there appears to be some evidence that is being proffered that he was actually there, and that it is not the case that he wasn't there. So it looks like we may not end this matter here. What do you say?
Chairman sent me a message that he wasn't even in the chamber. I sent him the video.
Okay.
Not pictures, video.
Right.
Of he, the chairman, supporting my motion. You see, Atta-Akyea, he's treading a very dangerous path. He says, Bua disagreed with me at the committee. This is Honorable Bua's statement, where Honorable Bua says that he disagrees with the chairman.
And read it. You're still here on Newsfile. We have just some 6 minutes to bring the show to a close. But remember that our...
See what, Honorable? It is therefore unfortunate that the chairman of the Mines and Energy Committee rushed with the report to the public domain while pending a new referral. Signed, Honorable Emmanuel Amakofi Bua. The minority is concerned about the agreement, which does not ensure transparency in the pricing of the gas.
All right.
This is Bua. Well, and yet, the chairman says that Honorable Bua disagreed with me. But you see, my position is simple. No matter how you look at this agreement, from an objective point of view, there's a deficit. Look, irrespective of how you look at it.
So what should happen to it?
I'm saying that let's point that out. That there's a deficit. If it's possible to renegotiate it, renegotiate it. If it's not possible, at least let the truth and the basic facts be put before the ordinary Ghanaian.
Thank you.
It's as simple as that.
The last few minutes, I would donate that to Martin Pebu, because he hasn't had the opportunity of speaking. But Martin, I plead with you. I want Bright, if you are there, just 1 minute. What for you do you see to be the way forward on this issue? Bright.
First, as the honorable gentleman has said, we must acknowledge there's under-recovery. How we deal with that under-recovery is a matter of creative policy making. The situation we have now is this refusal to accept that the country is making a loss. We cannot make progress until that clarity is established.
All right. Thank you very much. Yes, Martin.
Sam, I prefer to wrap up on the Bank of Ghana matter, because I've seen some things that I think will help our governance. Number one, when I check the Federal Reserve in the US, they give the directors, the governors, Board of Governors, a 14-year staggered term. So this one's, maybe Sam, you're a governor, yours starts this year, JJ's own starts next year. So it's staggered. So the main thing is that you find that governments come and go. So it kind of gives them some independence. You check Bank of Ghana Act Section 10, they give you 3 years renewable. No. It's not good. It's not good. We need an amendment of the Bank of Ghana Act give people, the experts, longer terms, especially so that they outlive the politicians.
Okay.
They outlive. And then 2, there should be transparency. When they take decisions, the monetary committee, they should publish them, the minutes, etc. And then number 3, the IMF. Look, we are struggling. You know, Bank of Ghana did all these things because of the IMF conditionalities. We are asking the IMF to look at the way they do their business. Once again, this thing didn't start today. You know, under the new International Economic Order, 1978 and 1981, developing countries pushed. They wanted a new UN bank that would lend on proper terms. You read this book, Kojo Koram and Commonwealth, Britain and the Aftermath of Empire. You go to page 135 and you see that point. And I read just a little bit. It says Thatcher and Reagan shut down the idea of a UN bank to lend to developing countries at better rates than the IMF and the World Bank, with Thatcher declaring that such a bank would not succeed within an institution like the UN, where developing countries held the numerical advantage, blah, blah, blah. Then you go on. So the point is that, look, this new international economic order, we are back to it. I think yesterday the president made a point at the BRICS meeting in South Africa. In developing countries, we should push again. IMF is killing us. IMF is killing us. The only lack is that, you see, because the president's, he was arrogant, he would not mind anybody. So when he fell into the ditch last year, we were jubilating. But we forgot that we were the people to be harmed. I think now, since we are all feeling the hunger, millions of our citizens have fallen into this poverty again, the 850,000 new poverty numbers. I think, look, government should engage IMF. They should look at how to go about this. We are dying. Because, Sam, the hunger is a big problem.
Right.
It's a big problem.
Thank you very much, Martin Pebu. And my other guests have been Bright Simmons, Honorary Vice President Imani Africa, John Abdullahi Junapor is MP, Yape Kusogu, and former Deputy Power Minister. We earlier spoke to Dr. Atta-Akyea Kabiro, who is Mahama, who is member New Patriotic Party Communications Team, economist and technical advisor at the Office of the Vice President. Were unable to deal with the matter of the EC's decision to limit the venues for the registration of new voters. Is hoping to get about 1.3 million new voters onto the voters' roll. Its decision to limit that exercise to only 8 district offices, which the parties appear unanimous across the board against. So we should be able to canvass that matter for you next time. I'm Samson Ladia Nyanini, and my outfit, as always, is by Habil Scooter. You can find Habil Scooter as at Jiringano Gate, East Legon. You can call them 0200 84 1988. 84 1988. They make the best of kaftans, including stuff like what I'm wearing right now. And as you know, the Super Delegates conference, is it voting of the NPP to shortlist the 10 aspirants to 5 is ongoing, and Joy is bringing you a comprehensive coverage. And you can see MFR Apau in your shot, ready to continue with the coverage.